Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and welcome back to the CoffeeCast ProCast Edition. This is going to be game number 4 in this best of 5 series. That's debatable. I'll get back to that in a second. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about, but I will let you know in just a couple seconds here. I'm calling this game number 4 in a best of 5 series between EGStephano, who is spawning on the top right-hand side here on Cloud. Apparently I'm doing laws. I went to do Cloud Kingdom and went Cloud. Let's try that one again. It's going to be EGStephano spawning on the top right side of Cloud Kingdom. Oh man, if you think that was weird, you should join me on Amateur Attack sometime, because that's a really laid back thing that I do. It's my I just pull people in from the audience, play them against one another, and I'll cast their games live. And it gets especially towards the end of the night when I start getting tired, it gets really interesting. I won't necessarily say funny. I start acting funny. Whether or not it actually comes across as funny is a whole different story. On the lower left-hand side, let's digress from that. It is going to be LiquidHero, who is currently down 1 game. It is 1-2 in this series. Advantage to EGStephano. Hero had a much better opening in the last game, I think, than he did in his first 2 games. First 2 games he went for a Stargate opening, wasn't really working out for him all that much. And he's kind of shifted over to, last game he shifted over to a Robo opening, which I was more of a fan of. He tried doing some stuff with a Warp Prism early on, with really only 1 Warp Gate ready. And I didn't quite like that. I think he could have gotten his additional Warp Gates up earlier, and could have done a little bit of 4-gate Warp Prism pressure. But that's not what we saw, and I think the pressure would have been good, but that's not what he did, so, you know. It's kind of a back and forth debate in my mind. Going for a Nexus first here on Cloud Kingdom. Now, the reason I was saying I don't know exactly if this is a best of 5, I originally was thinking this might have been from a tournament. I'm not really certain anymore, because I've already casted a series on Cloud Kingdom between these 2 players. Already casted a series between these 2 players on Cloud Kingdom, or pardon me, a game, and that was game number 2. And I can tell you that I know for a fact this one is a different game. So I'm wondering if I managed to either pick up 2 best of 3 series, or if this is just like some random game. Maybe the other one was a best of 3 series, and I don't freaking know. So this is the 4th game between these 2 players. Once again, I've always thought about putting a camera down for caster, but I always thought that was really stupid when other streams did it. But I wish you could hear me, because I'm a very emoting, like both hands are off the keyboard and mouse, and I'm a big gesturer. But yeah, so I don't really know what this is at all. So we're just gonna kind of go with it for the moment. I'm gonna call this a best of 5, and if Hero wins, well then the series is over. I've really given up any semblance of knowing what games are from what tournament. I just don't keep up with enough tournaments. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really super up to date on those. Whatever. Whatever. One thing I would like to see out of Stephano this game, and it looks like he's getting maybe in a better position to do, is last game we only saw him scout with 1 Overlord, and it ended up kind of hurting his case a little bit, because he had 1 that came in through the natural expansion where the Robo was. So he saw the Robo, he saw 1 gas at the natural, could assume pretty much 2 gases in the main. And he misread it for what I believe he misread it as the 2-place Zealot Sentry Immortal all-in. Because he saw the Robo, he saw only 3 gases, and probably assumed that there were extra gateways in the main base that he just didn't see. So he started pumping out a bunch of units early on that he normally could be contributing towards his drone count, towards teching a little bit earlier. And I think in the end that was kind of his killing factor, because he had all these units, and he didn't quite get his economy established earlier on. He did manage to halt the Protoss 3rd base for about 3 minutes, which was a huge delay. But I just don't think that that he read it properly. And so now with this Overlord over here, actually this Overlord's going to get repelled. Might try to get in the main. No, just going to try to fly to the dead zone here. And he's going to get there. But I think that he needs a little bit better scouting this game, so he doesn't make a little bit of a mistake like that, like he did before. And, well, I mean, he's kind of in position. You don't really want to sack this Overlord. This Overlord's actually in a great position. You can see the gas here. You can see where when that gas is taken. You kind of see the wall here and might be able to catch a glimpse of what the army is like. This Overlord, well, his life is probably forfeit. That's going to become an overseer at some point in time. Zealot and probably a Stalker. There's the Stalker. Are going to be poking over into the third. You will see this time and time again. This always happens. The Queen might go down. This is really what you intend to do, is maybe try to kill the Queen. Just make sure that this third base here, the Queen's actually getting very low on health. This Queen's going to need to be very careful. Oh, one more hit off by that Zealot. And I think the Stalker's actually going to get the Queen, which is oh my goodness, the Queen surviving with 1 hit point left. That was actually a pretty big victory there for Stephano, keeping that Queen alive, especially in the grips of death right there. Beautiful play, getting that back in the corner. That was perfect. I want to say more about it, but I mean, it explains itself. It was just perfect, and it's because of Stephano, and Stephano is perfect. He is just crazy. One thing that is crazy, and that I personally am not crazy about, is the fact that we are once again going for this Stargate play, I say, as a lot of Zerglings do come over into the third base here. This is great positioning on the Stalker, saving it from the cannon and making the engagement angle on the Stalker fairly small as well. Unfortunately, there's a nasty artificial pylon, which is going to be unpowered before those Zealots finish warping in, which means that 3 warp gates are unpowered, and this cannon Stalker is left alone to defend against all these Zerglings. That is just not going to go well. Now we just have 2 sentries that might get surrounded here. You need to be very careful with those 2 sentries and a Zealot coming over here to be able to push these back. But again, another pylon is killed off before Hero can really push the Zerglings out, which means these 3 gateways are going to continue to be unpowered for quite some time, which means sentries, for instance, cannot be warped in. Pretty much nothing can be warped in. Now we are seeing something a little bit different this time out of that Stargate. It's going to be a Void Ray, more Zerglings streaming into this third base, and now running over towards the natural expansion. There is a sentry here to be able to stop that. A single force field will block up this entire area, whereas the force field, there it is. I was beginning to worry that might not get down in time. Force field goes down. Hero not going to let those Zerglings use his maze. Once again, a Void Ray was actually the unit of choice this time out of Hero. I think he went for a few Phoenixes and then the Void Ray last time in game number 1 or 2. I can't remember which one it was. I love Void Rays in the late game composition. I know I was talking about this before. I love them in the late game composition. In this kind of early mid game timing, maybe not so much. Yeah, there's not really any units in the Zerg arsenal that will be able to shoot it, but at the same time, one Void Ray just doesn't do damage fast enough to a mass amount of units. And you just kind of see the Void Ray, yeah, he'll be wailing away at roaches all day long, but it just takes so long for one Void Ray to kill 20 roaches. And this Void Ray is going to poke over here a little bit, try to take out this, well, maybe not take out, just do a little harassment on the hatchery. Going to be able to kill off an Overlord or 2 here or there, but there are enough Queens on the map, and enough creep spread especially, that the Void Ray really isn't going to be a problem. I might have liked to maybe see something like a 4-gate robo opening. Maybe, actually, I'm going to change. I think a 6-gate robo, and then adding on the Stargate and Void Rays as you're getting your Zealot, Sentry, Immortal composition going. I think adding a couple Void Rays in the back of that might be decent, even though you wouldn't really have much AoE capabilities. Especially now that we're on 3 base, I think that he could afford to go up to Colossus and then have just 2 or 3 Void Rays in the back of his army. Maybe then the Void Ray would work a little bit better at this point in time, but as it stands right now, I just don't think that this is that great of a deal for LiquidHero. And it's not even really buying him all that much map control. Might maybe be able to get a Queen, but no, here comes another Queen over to assist. Actually, this Queen is actually rather hurt himself, but I think the DPS combined will be enough to be able to take this out. Oh, except for the fact that, well, there's a ground army in the 4th base right now. A lot of Zerglings going to be streaming in. You're going to need a lot of force fields to be able to keep those off, and actually the force fields, while they are there, they got down a little bit late, so we're using about 2 times as many force fields as we really needed to. There is a forward pylon here, as well as a 2nd Void Ray. Now I suppose the Void Ray is actually doing a little bit of extra work here. Needs to make sure to target fire down these investments. They are really the only things that can shoot up right now. There really just is not all that much firepower over here for Stephano. I think this 4th base is going to have to go down. I still think Stephano is going to be able to muster up enough forces to be able to hold this off. Throwing down Infested Terrans, I mean, once again, this is just a waste of the energy on those investors. I just don't think there's going to be enough firepower to be able to clean up this army. It's going to actually be kind of a close call. Look at we actually are running out of force field energy. In fact, no energy left for those force fields. A lot of Zealots did just get warped in, but they're just sitting back here and not really helping out with the battle. And that means that there is nothing left on the ground to help them defend the Void Rays. And that attack actually thwarted. I thought Hero was actually in a great position for that battle, but it looks like the Infested Terrans were just enough additional DPS to help push that back. Hero not done with this aggression yet, even though he is rapidly losing all the force that he has right now. He is taking up 2 Colossus. That robotic base just about to finish up, but there are just too many roaches over here right now, and I think Hero would be best advised to GTFO, because he's just losing so many extra units. Does manage to snipe the 4th base though, so I suppose in the end, Hero doesn't make these units pay off. He loses every single last one of them though. All the Zealots, all the Void Rays, the Sentries, the Immortals are all dead, but now we have started this double Colossus production off of 3 bases. Level 2 weapons just finishing up as well. It's going to make these Colossus extraordinarily powerful, as if they weren't powerful enough already. 2-2 coming onto the field for Stephano. And the armor upgrades, not the biggest deal against the composition we're seeing out of LiquidHero right now. Roaches are going to be trying to stream up into 3rd base. Great force fields go down. Quite a few roaches already up here though, trying to save that Immortal. That's not going to happen. Now picking away at those sentries. These force fields are going to go down very shortly. Where are the reinforcing Colossus? Hero, it is time to reveal your hand, because you need all the firepower you can get to defend this 3rd base. It is in a lot of pressure right now. Zealots are up all there. The roaches not even trying to micro back from them. Colossus are in a beautiful positioning now. A lot of infested terrors going down, even spread those out just a little bit to make sure the Colossus fire could not kill them all off extraordinarily quickly. The Colossus needs to be pulled back, as he is rather close to these infested terrors. Does not want to be fired down. A lot of roaches still on the bottom side here, and I don't think this Dex is going to get saved. It's going to be kind of a close call. You can see Stephano even spreading out his roaches like a Terran player would do his Marines, and the Nexus does fall, and Stephano, great army trade there. Going to be able to take out that 3rd base, and now eye for an eye, Stephano says, but this time Stephano actually gets away with his big money units, the Infestors, walking back home to the 5th base of Stephano. 5 bases to 2. Looking a little bit peaked for our Protoss player, LiquidHero. He does have a nice set of Colossus on the field, about to be 5 very shortly. So he has the tech in place. He has a little bit of the army in place. He has bits and pieces of the army that he needs. He just really needs the bulk of his ground army. He needs his tanks, his gateway units, to be able to gun down on the field and protect those Colossus. If he can get that done, he's not sitting in a horrible position. But the fact of the matter remains, he's still on 2 bases to 5 right now for the moment. And we have Infestors coming out onto the field to be able to counter these, Corruptors coming out on the field to be able to counter the Colossus. Warping in a few additional Stalkers there as well. This is the army composition that you want to start working towards, but I don't feel like Stalker Colossus is the exact composition we need right now, considering the number of Zerglings we have on the field, the number equating to about 4 full pages, which is 89. Fun fact today, Stalkers actually getting caught off guard, and they just blink up onto that ramp so they cannot get away. And well, there's 5 free Stalkers the LiquidHero could not afford to lose. He is currently down at negative 1,500 resources lost at this point in time. And Hero just not getting that 3rd base reestablished. Stephano just about ready to move out again. It's 3-3, about halfway finished. Adrenal Glands coming down on the way. Broodlords are going to be coming onto the field fairly shortly as well. Not a good engagement angle for Stephano up this ramp though. He is not going to want to engage in this right. Blinking those Stalkers forward to try to take out the Corrupt. Lost is going to be able to just decimate the Zergling numbers on this ramp. There goes the force field. Zerglings only partially somewhat is getting up to the ramp. The blink is finished. We saw that used earlier, not really seeing it utilized now. Might want to consider trying to get those back. And Stephano actually just getting wrecked in that battle. I do not agree with that engagement at all. Stephano could have done that one so much better. And now coming back from a negative 1,500 deficit to a positive 200. Hero in a much better position after that battle. Stephano's still in advantage in supply and probably in economy as well, if only by a little bit in that gas count. But the tech is now here on the field for Stephano. The Broodlords are on the way. And no Stargate, no Fleet Beacon tech on the field. This is where I would love to see some Void Rays added into the army when the Corruptors start getting changed over into the Broodlords. I was thinking about this earlier on today. The Corruptors start getting changed over into the Broodlords. You get less anti-air firepower from the Corruptors. So then the Corruptors have to choose, the few that you have, whether they want to shoot the Colossus or the Void Rays. If they shoot the Colossus, the ground army is safe. Your Broodlings can be a little bit more effective against the Blink Stalkers, and you have to hope that your Fungal Rills are good enough to hold the Blink Stalkers in place. if you use the Corruptors against the Colossus, the Voiders are able to start picking off at your Broodlords, and the Broodlords are massive units, so they actually fall extremely quickly to Void Rays. It's kind of that give take, you have to figure out where you're strong, because your Fung Growth going down on top of these Blink Stalkers after they blink underneath the Broodlords. Broodlords do go down, but there are a lot of Zerglings here on top of these Colossus, and pardon me, I'm talking about the Stalkers. Colossus are falling slowly but surely. The Corruptors are target firing those down. Just not really enough Zealots in this army. I feel the meat of the army is not there, and that means that these Zerglings are going to be able to do quite a bit of damage. Now we see a few flanking Zerglings coming around as well. We're going to be able to get around on some Stalkers. Now Rogue's coming in to join the fray. Look at these Colossus are on the run. The Colossus, all 5, it looks like, are going to go down in the end. All the Stalkers dead as well. The hero trying to retreat, but he has just lost everything he had now. That did not go too well. He did have a nice blink underneath the Broodlord, but again, without any sort of Zealots, underneath his army, there was really nothing to soak up the damage, the immediate damage, and his expensive Stalkers and expensive Colossus took the toll on that one. Warp some harassment over at the 4th base here, warping in 4 of the Stalkers. Stalkers up on the high ground, now blinking down on the low ground, and by blinking down on the low ground, he pretty much forfeits these Stalkers alive. So I don't know exactly how I feel about that. If you have more Stalkers coming up along the south side of the map, this is really what you need to do. Actually catching a Broodlord off guard, that's a nice little victory there. Lost only a single Stalker to that. So definitely something that Hero really needs to be doing. Just a little poking and prodding here, poking and prodding there. But unless he can establish a 4th base, I just don't see him coming back in this. And establishing a 4th base is going to be very difficult, considering he only has a very small handful of Stalkers at this point in time to the Broodlords and the Zerglings and the mass number of Infestors, for instance, the 19 Infestors. 19, whatever. The large number of Infestors down on the ground for Stephano. Going to make it very difficult. I mean, just the Infested Terrans alone in that, if you want to completely disregard fungal growth capabilities, going to be enough to do quite a bit of damage, forcing these Zerglings off the watchtower there. Pulling his Stalkers a little bit out of position for that. I don't know if I would have pulled all the Stalkers. Maybe warping like 2 or 3 Zealots. You kind of want Zealots with this army anyway. Once again, I just don't agree, 100% agree with the warping cycles that we're seeing out of LiquidHero. I would like to see a little bit extra Zealot power. More Stalkers actually moving along the north side of the map. Once again, coming over into this 4th base, picking off Zerglings. Now going over, target firing those Rogues down, but he's going to need to be able to get out of here. Blink down once again into that 4th base there. Picking off a few drones here, a few drones there. Really, that's actually almost helping Stephano more than it's hurting him. As he had a few too many, especially for this point in the game. He had a few too many. Looks like there is going to be an engagement down at the middle Zelnok watchtower on Stephano's side of the map. Beautiful fun growth going down, just pretty much decimating this army, ensuring that this army is going to die because they cannot get away from these Broodlords. There's the GG. Stephano, thankfully, wins 3-1 because I didn't know what I was going to do if we went on to a Game 5 because guess what? I have no Game 5. That was it. So I'm glad I casted this in an order that kind of worked. So I'm just going to go ahead and call Stephano at a 3-1 victory there. I don't know if it was a best of 5 or not, but you know, whatever. Hero, just the Stargate play, it just wasn't working out for him. It just wasn't working out for him. He kept on trying to make something happen with the Stargate play. I liked the use of the 2 Void Rays with his ground army. I just think that they came out a little bit early. He invested a lot of resources into getting those Voiders out earlier on in the matchup, and then didn't really use them until we were kind of getting into the solid mid-game, maybe even kind of getting into the early-ish stages of the late game. I can't exactly remember when that attack was, but he pushed out with those Void Rays a little bit later than he needed them, or pardon me, he made those Voiders a little bit earlier than he needed them, which meant that it took a little bit longer for his Robotech to get up. Maybe he could have had another Immortal or 2 out at that point in time when he started really deciding to punch at that 4th base. So I think that could have been handled a little bit better. I do like the fact that he is trying to use the Void Rays in the PvZ matchup, though I don't think that that's something that's really utilized often enough. Stephano showing that a 3-base Zerg can be quite effective. Taking that, this game he took his 3rd base, his 4th base, a little bit earlier than he has been. He took it at about 10:40, if I recall rightly. A little bit earlier than he has been. But a lot of Zerg players will get that 4th base, you know, pretty freaking early on, and especially if you want to consider it to his, like, you know, his 15, 16-minute timings that he was getting his fourth base in his other games. Just doing a lot of 3-base play, getting the macro hatchery in the main base. The infestation pit's always up by the time he starts getting his fourth. The roach warren is there. It's just a very, very safe way to play things, and that actually is really nice against things like that Zealot Sentry Immortal All-In that generally hits around the 10-minute point. If you have not already, please subscribe to me here on YouTube. I've really been enjoying a lot of the comments I've been getting lately. You guys have been very, very kind to me, and I appreciate that so much. I am actually getting very close to the 20,000 views mark, and I'm hoping these videos will kind of get me really close to pushing over that breaking point. And I'm actually going to do probably like a 6-hour streamathon or 6 or 10-hour streamathon from Reddit Cast It. I'll just go on Reddit Cast It and start downloading those games and casting them and casting them and casting them for a while there. And that's probably how I'll celebrate my 20,000 view mark. If you have any other suggestions, let me know. I will definitely take those into account. So yeah, subscribe to me on YouTube, leave a comment below, like me on Facebook. You can find all sorts of contact information on me down in the description section. I'm going to go ahead and log off now. Thank you so much for joining me here on LiquidHero versus Stephano. And until next time, folks, this is a coffee break.